Good morning, Pastor Brian here. Thank you for joining me today as we read a psalm a day. Today we're on Psalm 132, and we will continue on with just a few more of these pilgrimage psalms. And as I read from it today, just a reminder, as always, I'll be reading from the Common English Bible Translation. So let's join together in Psalm 132. Lord, remember David, all the ways he suffered and how he swore to the Lord, how he promised the strong one of Jacob, I won't enter my house, won't get into my bed. I won't let my eyes close, won't let my eyelids sleep until I find a place for the Lord, a dwelling place for the strong one of Jacob. Yes, we heard about it in Ephrathah. We found it in the fields of Jaar. Let's enter God's dwelling place. Let's worship at the place God rests his feet. Get up, Lord. Go to your residence, you and your powerful covenant chest. Let your priests be dressed in righteousness. Let your faithful shout out with joy. And for the sake of your servant David, do not reject your anointed one. The Lord swore to David a true promise that God won't take back. I will put one of your own children on your throne, and if your children keep my covenant and the laws that I will teach them, then their children too will rule on your throne forever. Because the Lord chose Zion, he wanted it for his home. This is my residence forever. I will live here because I wanted it for myself. I will most certainly bless its food supply. I will fill its needy full of food. I will dress its priests in salvation, and its faithful will shout out loud with joy. It is there that I will make David's strength thrive. I will prepare a lamp for my anointed one there. I will dress the enemies in shame, but the crown he wears will shine. It's the end of Psalm 132. One of the things that I really wanted to point out that stuck out to me was just the idea in which God remembers. Just that opening line. The Lord remembered David all the ways he suffered and how he swore and promised to the Lord. Just this idea that God remembers the things that we go through. You know, in the psalm, it's specifically about David and how strongly David felt about having a house for God. And, you know, we definitely have our places of worship, and we've also had to adapt to what places of worship look like because of the pandemic that we've been going through. But God remembers David. And he remembers the covenant that he made with David, and he remembers all the things that were associated with what he promised David. You know, someone on that throne forever. And we also have to remember, if we look at Scripture, we see that it's not actually David who creates the temple, you know, Zion. It is his son Solomon. And so even though the promise was made to David, it wasn't carried out until later. And I think all of that is important for us to keep in mind, you know, that one, God keeps God's promises, and maybe those promises aren't fulfilled in the time frame in which we want it to be, but that God knows and that God does remember those things that are important to us. And God definitely remembers those things that are important to God. And so those things might not be on our timeline, and they may not always look the way that we want them to look, you know, with the temple not being there, and then the temple being there, and then being destroyed, and being destroyed again, and then us being away from our own temples. God knows and remembers what's that like. God knows and remembers that there are times in which there was no temple, and that that's okay, and that God is still there. And God still remembers God's covenant with us, even if we don't have a physical place to worship as we've become accustomed to doing. And I think that really stuck out to me in thinking about our world today. So what stuck out to you? What did you like? What didn't you like? Write it down, share it with a friend, share it with us. And as always, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and God bless.